I still have the floor. On that, every single one of those are very valid reasons to have a plan before us that might address some of those issues. I am looking at the letter from the Park Department, and the first sentence says that the vote was unanimous and that they had offered to come before us to speak with it, and that they were told not to come. And I have a problem with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Joanne, I can respond to that. Last Monday night, they asked me what the status was, and I told them that I had planned to vote on the location at the next school committee meeting. The Park Department and the new board is brand new down there. I don't know how many people are that familiar with the ongoings and the history of Faxon Field site. There wasn't anything the Park and Rec Board was going to tell us, rather than that they unanimously said, go ahead and put it there. I don't think they looked at any of the obstacles yet. And these are obstacles that are there now. These are obstacles that are going to be there now if we put a gymnasium on that site. We have parking problems, and it covers 3 wards, Ward 1, Ward 2, and Ward 5, and we're not going to change any of the parking. There's no additional parking. I don't know how we can swallow it down there. So this letter that the Park and Rec Board, they wanted to unanimously say that they were still in favor of Faxon Field, and asked me if anybody should come. I don't think that Gale or the Gale Engineering or the Park and Rec Board could tell us anything different about these items that I speak about tonight. The traffic's there, the safety's there, the parking is not there, the wetlands is not going anywhere, and I have a copy of that settlement agreement that I brought that was drafted up in April of 2007. This is an agreement that got the high school going. This is a withdrawal of an appeal that the folks that were petitioning against the high school. I can give you a copy of this. And right in it, in section 2, the first sentence, city's performance obligations is the title. In any activities that would alter resource areas on Faxon Field as defined under WPA Wetlands Protection Act regulations. I know it's going to be close, very close to the wetlands. I know that the folks here are going to appeal this, and I think that we're going to waste time and money down there at that site on top of these other issues that I spoke about. So I really don't think the soil studies that are going on, and sites before that we've approved, not this body, but other bodies here in the city of Quincy, sites have been brought forth and approved as a site location. Then studies commence, and it doesn't get off the ground. I'm almost saying that I can see these issues here without even going into that soil, which I don't think is the firmest soil that we have down there, and we're not going to get off the ground. So I'm trying to make a decision right now to say, let's not waste time and money down at Faxon Field, because it's not going to work.
I too have that document, and I don't think one person should have made the decision on whether Gale Associates should be before this body or not, and that they're not going to tell us anything different, because I don't know that, because I haven't spoken to them. And the mayor has promised that they would be before us as soon as they finish doing the work that they needed to do. And I don't believe that just because we're talking about putting a track on Faxon Field that it's going to jeopardize the high school, because every single plan of the high school included athletic fields. Every single one of them had athletic fields and had our Quincy Public Schools students on that land. Now, you hire experts that are engineers to tell us how to make that happen so that it is safer, so that there is a plan for parking, so that there are things we can do for flooding. I believe the plan that was briefly before us, that we really didn't get a chance to really deliberate on, did include drainage. I don't see it necessarily would impact any of the wetlands, because we already had athletic fields there. So I really don't see that valid, but I very much object to the fact of one member making a decision for all of us. I would like to hear from Gale Associates. I would like to hear what the park board said. And I am very uncomfortable that we weren't given that opportunity. So I would ask that the mayor, at some point, bring Gale Associates before us so that we can ask our questions and we can get them answered. I mean, those are very, very valid concerns, and they're a concern for every one of us. So,
Thank you, Mrs. Bragg. Chair recognizes Mr. Pulio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If my memory serves correctly, at the last meeting, I think before the motion was made on whether or not to vote on this track site at Faxon Field, Mr. McCarthy had asked the members to express where they were in their decision-making process about Faxon Field or Pageant Field or where the track should be located. I know from that meeting, both Mrs. Bragg and I expressed not certainty for Faxon Field, but at least the interest in pursuing what the questions would be. There are a number of unanswered questions related to the geotechnical information, as well as flooding and traffic and things that have not been presented to us, that I think both Mrs. Bragg and I made very clear at the last meeting that would need to be part of our decision-making process. And I too am very concerned that Mr. McCarthy has represented the school committee at a park board meeting saying that we did not want to seek additional information, when that was made very clear at our last meeting that part of our decision-making process, at least for some members, would be to have that additional information. And I think if one member is to represent the school committee, it should be as a result of a vote. To touch on a couple other points that were made this evening, I've heard a couple of times that the safety of having children participate in track events at the Faxon Field location. And I am a bit confused by that motion, by that idea. Certainly ensuring safety is a concern, whether it be kids crossing streets or kids, choosing to be dropped off, or parents choosing to drop their kids off in certain locations. But as far as I can remember, that site has always been site of the Quincy Carnival that came to Faxon Field, as well as youth baseball games. And I would be interested to see if there were any incidents related to traffic from the Quincy Police Department related to those games. If safety of children being at Faxon Field is such a concern, I would urge Mr. McCarthy, as a member of the Parks Board, to ban that site from youth sports and ban that site from the Quincy Carnival. I think that the safety issue has been used to stir up the emotions of parents when that site is already used as a youth athletic field. It's already used for youth and family events. In terms of traffic and parking, I have not seen any traffic studies for the area. I have not seen any plans or proposals as to how we would deal with parking, how we would deal with increased spots. I would like to see that before a decision is made, so we can have a better understanding of what we're getting ourselves into. So I think for myself, there are many unanswered questions that I would like to have answered before we say yay or nay on this track. And again, my primary concern is that for a number of years, we have not had a track for our athletes, not had a suitable track for the children and for the citizens of Quincy. I know there are many, not just from the high school athletics or middle school athletics or the Quincy Track Club, but many residents who would enjoy such a facility as well. And I think the more we keep jumping sites, the more we keep voting up and down on where we want it, the further that pushes it out. I'm concerned that, and I have stated this before, that saying no to Faxon Field, we don't not have another site. Pageant Field is no longer on the table, as I understand it. So if we say no to Faxon Field, then we don't have a track site. And then we start from square one. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Chair recognizes Mrs. Mahoney.
Just a point of reference, I think that's how you'd say it. So the park department is appointed by the mayor, correct?
Park and Rec Board members?
Yep.
6 of them are, and 3 by the City Council.
Okay, so, and it was unanimous. So Dave, did you vote unanimously on the Faxon Field site? When they said this letter says it was unanimous, I'm confused by this unanimous. Okay, so it wasn't truly unanimous, because if somebody, okay, so if it was all, so that letter says it's unanimous, it wasn't. I'm just trying to state the fact that it's a misrepresentation when you say it's unanimous and not everybody was unanimous on the site.
Point of information.
Mr. state your point of information,
Uh,
Mr. Puleo.
Mr. Chairman, the letter as I read it says that the board voted unanimously to forward this letter. It does not say the board unanimously voted on the